Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Greetings, James. My pleasure for coming on. Thank you for inviting me. How are
Yeah,
you? You all
yeah,
right?
really good, really good. Thanks, really good. Really excited for this conversation because you've built Motiv8 into one of the go-to names in the automotive training over the last 26 years. So pretty long experience in a space where most providers will sort of blend into the noise. You're doing things quite differently when it comes to those experiences that you put on. What's been the key to carving out that clear niche and then staying top of mind in such a specialized industry?
Well, firstly, thanks for bigging us up like that. That's great. That's great. Promoted us well there. Um, I'm really proud of that. Even hearing you say that, it's great. And yeah, you're right. We have carved out a really, really good reputation. And the thing about it is, James, is it's about people. I think first and foremost, I'm going to talk a lot about people during this podcast. And when it comes to Motiv8, it's not just me. I co-founded the company 26 years ago. She said with my business partner and co-founder David Taylor, and that I think that's the key to the success. Really, is anyone embarking on a business. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people. For David and myself, we got quite different. We bring different things to the organisation, and we challenge each other. And it's all about surrounding yourself with people who can help you grow and advise and guide. It makes it a much less lonely existence, obviously, doing that, um, but also a more successful existence. uh, People will for example, you remember, everyone will think about, if you think about Apple, everyone will think of Steve Jobs, but no one will kind of think about one of the more instrumental characters in the development of Apple, which is Sir Johnny Ive, who did all the design. Everything we know now about Apple design came from Johnny Ive. So it is about the people you surround yourself with, absolutely about ensuring they help you stay at the cutting edge as well, which is a thing that we've strived to do over the years. In 26 years in the world of training and events, it's changed a lot, and you can't stand still. As an old phrase I remember using years ago in training: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, right? So you've got to change, you've got to be nimble, you've got to be flexible. And a big part of our ethos, still what we do now, and even in not just our whole outlook, but in an individual training program or event, big event, it's about continual improvement. We're constantly striving for continual improvement. We get that from feedback from our team, from our clients, from ourselves, whether that's discussions and debriefs or briefs at the start of the day, end of the day debriefs. It's about what can we do differently, what can we do better, and that's something that we ask our learners, but also ask ourselves.
Yeah, some important key messages there, really, and we'll kind of come back to those people and the co-founder that you mentioned as partnership, but let's rewind then right back to the beginning. What was the moment that you knew that you had to start Motiv8?
That is a long time ago, as I said, 26 years ago. Hard to rewind and think about it, but I do actually. I still reflect on it, to be honest. The thing is, as an industry, Motiv8 started. We are a learning and development organisation, and that's the world that I've been in since I was 21, into training and development and learning and development, and people improvement, behavioural improvement. So it's something that I knew was my true vocation in life, if you like. I'm really passionate about it. I worked for a company delivering training courses, and David worked there as well, and it was great. And there was some amazing people, back to people that I learned from, and honed my craft, if you like. And in terms of becoming a better trainer and people developer. But working for a company has its constraints. It means you're kind of being told what to do and how to do it. And in the world of training and development and learning, you want to forge your own path. So we had an opportunity when the company was changing direction that we worked for, that we could go out on our own. Obviously a little bit nervy at the time, But when you think about that and reflect on that, you realize that by going out on your own, you can control the narrative. You are the one who can create things and not just listen to how it should be done. And that's can be incredibly empowering and freeing, to be honest. So yeah, freedom. Not that it was a jail or anything, it was a great company. It was brilliant. But when you're working for an organization, you've got to, I guess you've got to kind of walk to their beat, and it enables you to go on your own and try and do what you believe in, which is really, really important. So as I said, very freeing. And since then, I've spoken to many people over the years who have asked me on advice on starting on your own. And the most important thing is just do it, give it a go, and that's it. And yeah, we haven't really looked back. Changed a lot in that time. Things have changed a lot, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah. It's always interesting, that founding story, and I resonate totally with exactly what you just said. It's the freedom. When you're working for somebody else, you've got somebody else to answer to. You've got your own ideas and vision of how you think things should go, and it's just the entrepreneurial mindset, and then taking that leap and having a go at something that it is very freeing to know that then you become that leader. Very free and very nerve-wracking at the same time, because then you've got a whole bunch of uncertainty to deal with, and sometimes along that journey you then think like, I did this all for that freedom to be in control of my own destiny, and then you almost box yourself into the expectations of clients and customers, and then that takes away your freedom for a little while, and
absolutely
navigating that journey as well.
Yes, yeah. Been there as well, and I think that again we'll probably get onto this, and that's why it's about, I say, surrounding yourself with the right people in terms of your people, but also the right clients as well. That's really important. That you work with people who believe in you. Firstly, you've got to believe in yourself, and that's a journey in itself. And then people who believe in you and trust you, and you trust in other people as well. So it really is a journey. It can be freeing. But you've got to kind of control that freedom as well. Make sure you still believe that, and don't get chained down by anyone else's constraints.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's an important point about. Yeah, it is about the right customers, the right clients, and you almost have to go through that journey of knowing what the right clients are before you realize what the right are as well. So that's it's just all experience.
Yeah, it is experience. I think with experience comes with that knowledge that don't say yes to everything. We had a tender came in about 6 months ago, and it was quite clear that it wasn't something that we wanted to get involved with, and that the brief hadn't really kind of like listened to the people would be training, and it wasn't right. So we said no. We just didn't want to get involved in it, and it's about your own beliefs, morals, ethics, whatever it is. You've got to be true to those, and that's why working with the clients and customers that we do, it's very satisfying for them and for us.
Yeah. And so you mentioned being through some changes, obviously, over that time span. What was a defining pivot point that changed the direction of the company?
I think it was quite a few years in, but I talked about developing our craft, and we're learning and growing as an organization, but still quite, I guess, focusing on a single area. And that was back in the day, kind of classroom training courses, going around, man, with flip chart pen in hand, and going to various different places and running training courses, that kind of traditional classroom training courses. And that's what we did. And we did it very well, very good at it, bringing more trainers on board to help us out. But it was still that kind of like traditional classroom training. Within the automotive area, that's you alluded to that earlier. That's what we do. So we focus on that, and we still do that. So that's important, that we have credibility within the industry that we're in. I think that's very important. But what we started to realize is that we could, rather than focus just on that single area, classroom training, that we broaden our horizons, because we have the ability to do a lot more. And that kind of launched us into the world of events. And we've put in personnel on to support automotive manufacturers' big launch events. And that's not just us providing the training, but also the personnel involved with the driving, the whole infrastructure, the venue finding, absolutely everything with regard to the events. And some huge events as well, and exciting, and approaching them with a slightly different outlook. When you have that when you become that kind of like entire solution for an organization, you just create everything. You're not back to what I was saying earlier about, somebody else telling you how to do things. You can create it from scratch, and therefore you can be innovative and immersive and different, and therefore bringing fresh, innovative approaches to something that's been done years. Events have been going on for years, right? But they've been done particularly in the automotive industry, they were done in a very similar way. You bring everyone along. It's kind of death by PowerPoint. The sales manager standing up for 45 minutes, telling people what's going to happen. It was then just fairly mundane drive sessions, etc., etc. Completely turning it on its head with really innovative ideas, and bringing in different media, making people have practical experiences rather than just sitting back and listening. And loads of examples, and we've run some crazy stuff, some of which are pictured behind me in kind of like army training camps. And the first huge one we did for in 2015 as a big event that we did for Kia, who is still a client that we work with a lot, and very close to our heart. We kind of run on a kind of James Bond theme. So people going along thinking they're going to have a sit there and listen were suddenly kidnapped and taken to a lab to learn about the latest innovations, etc. Go to a casino where we could integrate some learning within the spin of a wheel and roulette, etc., and turning of a card to answer questions. Just bringing a sense of fun and adventure to it, and that was a real turning point, and it's been kind of like copied a little bit since.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing. And so it sounds like you kind of you pioneered those immersive experiences that just are so different in your niche, in your market, that's how you've differentiated when you've like the question was about pivoting. So obviously you've kind of found your way to innovate and just totally differentiate your experience in a market that was, like you say, it was just death by PowerPoint, quite traditional, not really different, how people go to these types of events. So
I think
really
where that comes
interesting.
from, James, is our knowledge over the years of learning how people get the most from an experience, whether it be a classroom training session or even a virtual lesson on Zoom or Teams or whatever. You learn about how people can be more engaged. And it's certainly not by telling. It's not. It's about experiencing. People learn from doing. This is now fairly common knowledge, but wasn't many years ago. It was all scripts and presentations, etc. Whereas if you let people learn by doing, then it sticks. And also enjoyment and having that experience. If you make it immersive, you make it memorable. And we've always been at the forefront of creating memorable experiences. And I love it when people, even like, 10, 15 years after, I bump into people and I remember that. I remember that event. I remember this moment. Do you remember when you did that? And our team and that was my favorite part of this, etc., etc. And that's a joyous moment when you realize you've affected people's learning and memory for 10, 15 years. So, it is. And now it's on vogue, as you said. Immersive events, there's a lot of them around.
When you were sort of first starting that, this is a new, like, innovative way in the market, it must have been quite a apprehensive, like exciting yet apprehensive, thing that was going on in your mind of like how this is actually going to go down, and like one of the first.
100%. And I cast back to that moment of that James Bond themed event where we got 200 people a day coming in. We actually hosted it at obviously it's an automotive event, and there's a great facility in Millbrook in Bedfordshire, UTAC, that we've hosted many events at, that allows you to test cars out, right? So it's great. But I remember that moment we created this event with all sorts of crazy things going on. And as the first delegates parked up in the steering pad, and obviously I've got my team around me there, and they're walking towards that front door, and I'm seeing them walk towards that just for a tiny split second, a small moment, I thought, have I kind of like, have I gone too far with this? Have we gone too far? And is it going to work? But then you just look around everyone else that you've, back to the people and back to surrounding yourself with people and giving them the confidence to do it, and making sure, and this is a big part of what we do as an organisation, sure we might come to a bit more in a moment, but a big part of what we do is make sure that every single person who's delivering on your behalf is prepared, is knowledgeable, is confident, and knows exactly what they're doing, and you look back, you look at other worlds like sport, for example. Everyone should know what they're doing on a team. What is their role? What's their responsibility? How can they soar in their role as well? How can they really do the best? And giving them that empowerment to deliver and really trust them to do that. So at that moment when everyone's walking towards me, I'm thinking, have we bitten off more than we can chew here? You look around and everyone else is keen, chomping at the bit. They were. And then that transfers to the audience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone who participated in that event will never forget it.
Yeah. Awesome. And I guess, like, I'm assuming things, at these experiences sometimes might go wrong, or not according to plan. But I guess, like, alluding to what you kind of say there, if you and your team around you have that certainty, and you're instilling certainty, so even if something might not go according to plan, you still got the certainty of like, okay, this is what happens next, and this is the action, and you've got, it's the leadership and you're just inciting that certainty in the people that are experiencing something. So is that a part of it?
Planning is really important, but you can't plan for every eventuality. It's impossible, particularly when you're running big events. I remember I said once we ran an event at an army training camp, and I had a call from one of my trainers who's running the session outside telling me that a helicopter was about to land in the middle of his training session. I had another one where one of our brand ambassadors called me on the radio and said that there's an army group coming in and they're using live ammunition, and we're like, what? I've got participants around this area. So you can't plan for everything, but you can keep calm. And I learned that from watching other people in my early career who are running events. Don't panic, keep calm. And things happen, learn from those things, continue continual improvement. But even if something goes wrong, you go ask yourself, well, don't blame. Did anyone die? And even in that situation where we're in an army training camp, no one did. But for anything, no one died. It's fine. And it's you learn from everything and put new plans, but you can't plan. It's impossible to plan for everything, but it's important to plan.
What's been a tough moment, or big challenge that has maybe been a turning point in the way that shaped your thinking or leadership style as the co-founder, owner of the business?
I think for me, when we started all those years ago, I was still relatively young. I was still in my late 20s, early 30s when Motiv8 was founded. And a significant moment in my life as well. It was just literally Motiv8 was founded 2 weeks after my first child was born. Right, so
Wow.
there's a lot going on at this moment. So insecurity, worry, anxiety about that, so still kind of starting out in life really. And I think as a result of that, there was an element of imposter syndrome when you're starting your own company. You kind of think, really, I'm a business owner. Can I do this? I was still probably relying on the guidance and direction from other people, and I think for a while I wasn't really owning it myself. So there's that moment where you go, okay, no, I've got to have confidence in myself, rather than rely on other people. I am the owner of an organisation, and I'm a big part of where that can go. Co-founder, co-owner, obviously, and myself and David. And David was a great one in instilling confidence in me, to be honest. And when I didn't believe in my own ability, he did. And so there's a reason why it's the two of us. And that filled me with massive amounts of confidence. So listening to people as well and taking that on board. And when you believe in your own ability to do something, it gives you that confidence, and that's a kind of magic ingredient, special sauce, really, if you like, is confidence, and it can carry you through the majority of things. It really can. So having that belief and confidence is really important, and I think that was a pivotal moment, thinking that I'm being dragged along rather than actually now I can lead.
Yeah, it sounds like that, that co-founder, co-ownership, it was, just super important to the starting of the company and the journey that you've been through. It's, you kind of, you said at the start, you both got complementary skill sets, personality types that just work really well. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, complementary is the key word there, James. You could say different and people would describe us as different, but it's complementary, absolutely 100%. And we trust each other and our abilities to deliver the results. And also that extends then to our wider team, of course, as well, surrounding yourself with people who also you're confident and who are complementary to you, that can add to you. You don't want clones of yourself. The worst thing in the world will be a world of clones of Steve Lang. Believe me, it will be a bonkers and crazy place. You definitely, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Everyone needs to complement each other in an organisation.
I'm sure you're being very humble there, but yeah.
Believe me, I'm not.
What's been your biggest growth challenge recently, like most recently, something that's maybe not working at the level that it could or should?
That's a good question, actually, and I think the first thing is that's probably a question that we don't ask ourselves enough in terms of what are our challenges in growing. I'll be totally honest. It's a case of you just keep going and you just try and blindly grow, where you have to look around you, sometimes step back. And I think that how we've kind of fixed that is by regular think tanks, regular get-togethers, regular reflections and pauses in time, whether that's with our wider team or just with myself and David. I think when it comes to challenges of growth, it's really easy for an organisation to think we have to grow and we have to grow exponentially. And I think that's the wrong mindset. I've seen people grow too quickly, and take on board too many new clients, and therefore that's resulted in a lack of quality. So I think the one thing that we always strive for, and always it's really our goal and objective, is the quality of what we deliver. And that's, if we try and grow too quickly, I think that would suffer. So we've grown steadily. That's the key to us growing steadily. But also, if you bring on too many clients, then the clients you're with at the moment may suffer. So we've grown steadily again with employing people. We'll probably talk more about our model and agency model, etc., in a bit. But by taking on board people who can focus on our clients more, then that's been a good thing. But then it's again about finding the right people if you're employing someone. So that's been a challenge. And just making sure that our current clients are supported while maintaining some growth.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, 26 years, you've been through some pretty up and down times when it comes to like the economy and the markets and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's advice in high regard is that, the steady growth to remain in a space and be a real authority in that niche. Yeah. You mentioned, so your like freelance model, so part of the team is like the freelance model. What's your secret to building the loyalty and consistency with that kind of, bit of a different sort of team setup?
Yes. So just to, I guess, describe how our company works is myself and David, and we do have some employees, obviously, as well, and for behind the scenes and admin and project management and supporting our clients on a regular basis. But when you're putting on a big training project that's maybe throughout the whole country or throughout Europe, or a big event where you've got lots of people, thousands of people over a short period of time, you need the right people around you, and you can't guarantee them the work all the time because those big events happen for a short period of time and nothing. So very often in the event and training world, it can be feast or famine, so that's it. So what works for us is the freelance model and bringing in the right people to support us at the right time. And in terms of the secret of that, what we've learned, or our belief in terms of building loyalty and consistency, is knowing the team that we're working with and not just employing, using a name. It's getting to know them as that person. It's also about treating them well. A big part of our belief on an event when we've got a group, because you think that they're freelance, right? They're still people, right? They're like employees. You call them employees, but the people who work for us, they're still people. They still respond to the same motivations. They still want praise. Still want to know that they're doing a good job, and they still have those motivators of, they have responsibility around them. So little things like making sure they feel appreciated, making sure our team are paid on time, earlier if we can, is really important. Little things like, I don't know, just when you're working on an event, sometimes you might have to share a room with someone. And that's, in terms of twin rooms because it's cheaper. We want to make sure everyone has their own space. So when they're working hard for us, they have their own individual time themselves. Making sure that the little things like we put on a tuck shop for our team, where they can come to the crew room and help themselves to snacks and drinks and chocolate and fruit and everything. No charge like that. Just go and help yourself, just to because you're valued, and a little snack. And my personal preference is little mini cheeses and stuff, just to go and have one of those during the day. It's just those little things, putting on a bit of an event party after a big event, or a wrap party, if you like. That not many event companies do that, but valuing our team is really important. Treating them well. Some freelancers are not treated well. It's really interesting. We just had I just had an email that I printed out because I knew you'd talk about freelancers, and it was for a member of our team who, because of personal circumstances, has gone and got a job, a proper job, as I call it. It's full-time employment. But he's been one of our loyal deliverers and freelancers for a few years now, and he's had to go and do something else. But he sent us a note, himself and David a note, and I'll quote it. He says, "It's been absolutely wonderful working with you all. You've all made me feel so welcome over the years, and that's been hugely appreciated. all too frequently, freelancers are treated as outcasts due to the nature of the relationships. But I can honestly say that not once have I ever felt that from you guys, and I'm genuinely going to miss working with you. So it's true. You don't think about that when people are on an event. If they're freelance, that event agency might just treat them as a number, not as a person. So some of my best friends are people who are part of our team.
Yeah, amazing. That's amazing. And you do come across like you've got these like just principles that are almost non-negotiable. And that's the little things like making people feel like the developing that relationship with freelancers, because it's all about relationships that helps everybody. It's sort of a win-win situation. Like you showed up early to this podcast, which you're the only person that's shown up, like a few minutes early. Most people are on time, but and you're like, well, yeah, of course, punctuality is really important. So you just got these principles as a leader that just help develop that relationship with the right people.
It's vital, and I guess it's to a certain degree, it's behaviour you believe in, but it's behaviour that's learned behaviour, right? You do that, and I guess that these are principles and behaviours. For example, if you were in the army, you stick to these things, right? That you need to do because the results will come. In terms of training and events, we believed, and one of our members of the team said years and years ago, and it's a mantra we always stick to. That timing is critical. Timing is everything. If one element of our event runs over, that then has a knock-on effect to every other part of that event, which then means that the individuals going through that event, they're late, or they might be late going home or whatever. They're not having the best experience. Even making sure that you start on time, like you said, I made sure I was early for this. Every event and training experience that we run will start exactly on the dot of the time that it starts, because the majority of people will be there for that. So why should we penalise them for people who have not planned to get there on time? And so, yeah, those principles have stuck with us, and I always try and get somewhere early. I like everyone.
What's when it comes to your sales and marketing for the growth of the company, what are some like big things that have really helped move the needle, really the big wins, the big channels? What do you do that really works?
I think that's changed a lot, James, over the years. It was probably solely many years ago. Word of mouth, that was it. And to be honest, it still is. We have a good reputation. We deliver the results for organisations. We had a big win recently, actually, with a client, because we're now moving into the world of electric vehicles, and we've been at the forefront of that for a long time. But 15, 20 years ago, we did electric vehicle training. So we know about this, and we're credible. Our reputation has grown in that as well, which is really important. And we've been in the forefront of things like virtual learning. Obviously, virtual learning over the last 5 years, for obvious reasons, has grown. But I think our first virtual course was run 15 years ago. So we've got that knowledge. I guess what we didn't do that well, I'll be honest, is shout about it too much, because we relied on word of mouth. And now the difference is it's a combination of both. So we have the word of mouth, and that's a great example. Was the client who are launching their first ever electric vehicle soon? They approached us because they heard about us through reputation in the industry, but also by looking at what we're doing on social media and LinkedIn. So it's like anything. If you hear about someone or something, you go, okay, they're now on my radar. What can I find out about them? And then you'll dip into LinkedIn, look at the content. So we've had to focus on the content we're putting on social media to make sure that it delivers the right message in terms of how our events and training run. So we're now looking at what's the messages we're putting across on LinkedIn, which of course is huge. It's absolutely huge. Is our content indicative and representative of what we are as an organisation. Yeah, and it does. I think it does. It gets across the real kind of like essence of our events and what people learn from them. The other thing that I think that we've moved more into is learning from other people in the same types of world industry, if you like. So over the last few years, I've really ramped up my kind of like involvement in networking and going to event organizations, networking events and automotive industry events, etc. So it's not going there to sell, but going there to learn, going there to kind of like find out from other people what their challenges are, what are they doing, going to exhibitions, Event Technologies Live, for example, Context. There's all these ones that are within our industry where you can learn about new innovations coming along. One of our clients challenges us every month that what new when we have a monthly meeting, what new innovations have you picked up in the last month? What are you learning? So, and I like that. It makes you constantly look up and see what's going on.
Yeah, interesting to hear like how it's changed, especially I guess like LinkedIn and the social media side is probably being the biggest sort of changes in it's the word of mouth, but it enables that word of mouth to just like maybe spread a little bit more, through LinkedIn and that network online rather than it just being all, offline or just email and that sort of thing.
It's a challenge though, because we kind of like frustrates me sometimes. Obviously, we're getting out there more and more in terms of people knowing about this, but sometimes we're the best kept secret in the industry, and then people, I hadn't heard of you before. Are you a new company? No, we've been going for 26 years, so and now you kind of go, oh, cool, what can we do better with regard to that? So we have, again, it's about surrounding yourself with people. We have engaged a company that manages now our social media. So bring an expert on board. Don't try and do it. We dabbled with it ourselves, but then you're so busy you can't post. So making sure that someone then says, well, if you put this in, you'll get this type of output. Yeah, okay, let's talk about it. So in collaboration with with this other company, we're forging together a bit more of a plan with regard to our marketing.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes complete sense. Where do you see the automotive industry heading over the next 5 years or so? And how's Motiv8 preparing for that, that shift?
Okay. So yeah, you're right. We're in the automotive industry and training and learning, and I think it's got better in terms of appreciating how people learn. So that's great, because that's where we can come in and collaborate with people. So if you look at our product being learning and development, organisations are willing to listen to our advice and knowledge over the years of how best to get things across. Not everyone, but the open-minded ones that we work with, which is great. In terms for the industry itself in automotive, well, there's one word, and it's electric. So electric. They're electric vehicles, and as I said, we worked with them for electric vehicles for many years. So we're passionate about them, and we've championed them from the early adoption phases now to what is now going to be more the early majority of people coming on board. So being knowledgeable about that helps. That's really good. But constantly, there's more we can learn. So what we do is we encourage our team and also myself as an individual to learn more every day about the market and what's going on and what other people are doing. As another mantra I often say, every day's a school day. You learn something from other people and things that you research and investigate every day. So we also look for other people to bring in, other freelancers who've worked for organisations. We've just brought a new person on who's doing great who's worked a lot with Tesla. So that's an interesting background straight away. And we can then collaborate with them. That doesn't mean to say that every individual then has you talked about our principles and ethos earlier as well. So they'll be used to doing it a certain way, and that's great. We want people to bring new ideas and fresh ideas. Back to us not being clones. We want to hear how people want to do things, and then you can kind of almost amalgamate and share with them as well. So you can teach them a little bit as well. So learning and growth together is a good thing in terms of that. But yeah, the automotive industry isn't standing still; it's moving forward, and that's an exciting thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the growth goal over the next 12 months, and what obstacles might be standing in the way of that growth?
Great question. Again, it's really important to have goals and objectives. It'd be hypocrite if I didn't say that. You know, we work in the industry of helping people achieve their goals, their objectives, improve their knowledge, improve their skills. That's what we want to do. So we've got to apply that to ourselves as well. But also going back to what I said earlier, we don't want to have a crazy period of growth that means that the quality of our offering suffers. So I think that we want to kind of set ourselves a target of about a 10% client growth is over the next 12 months, 18 months would be great. But also to grow within the client base that we have and make sure that we support the customers we have at the moment with growing their business. Because here's the thing, it's mutually beneficial, isn't it? The customers that we're dealing with, the clients that we're dealing with, they are growing. They're on the upward slope, which is great. I mentioned Kia when we first started with Kia, 10, 12 years ago, still a relatively new entity within the automotive world in the UK specifically. Now they're the fourth biggest selling automotive manufacturer in the UK, which is great. It's lovely to feel that you're part of that. It's not all us, of course, but being part of that is important. But they, as an organisation, will continuing to grow. We want to support them in their journey. For example, they are launching commercial vehicles next year, electric commercial vehicles, and we've had experience in that with other organisations, with Ford, with the launch of their transits, etc. So we want to help with our knowledge, bringing that to help design their training curriculum, which is what we're doing. And then, as I said, another client we just got on in the last 6 months, which is Suzuki. I can say that, don't mind saying that, because absolutely really enjoy working with them as a company. The community is brilliant within there. Is helping them in their journey to grow in terms of their new journey in electric vehicles and how they're delivering that training. So it's yes, we would love some new clients and new brands, because I think in the past, years ago, we may have been guilty of putting too many eggs in one basket, just focusing on single clients. So you still got to look at that. And our clients like that we work for other people. They like that we have that knowledge of the industry. So it's important to do that, but it's also important to support the companies that you've got.
Yeah, and it must be quite a fascinating experience to sort of be so early on in, say, a company like Kia, and then see their growth massive and kind of growing alongside them, growing with them. That must be quite rewarding, to have those long-term relationships with clients.
Incredibly rewarding, and the thing is you see your evidence is there all the time, because you see the cars on the road all the time. I remember, it's almost like you can almost see where that tipping point happens when you're involved in it so much. I remember reading it in the book Tipping Point. Malcolm Gladwell said that Apple as an organisation, back to Steve Jobs again, he talked about his tipping point was when he realised he was walking down the streets in New York and started seeing people with the white headphones in their ears, similar to what you've got there now. Obviously, that's evolved as well over the years as well, James. And they realised, well, that's that tipping point. And I think when it comes to things like we've been part of the electric vehicle revolution for many years, and now when I go out on the high street and I hear cars coming past, not only are they not killing the planet, but they're also driving past silently. It becomes you're there, you're part of that, and you kind of think, it's a brave new world and a very exciting new world, and exciting times.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, talking about exciting times, what excites you most right now? Whether at Motiv8 or the industry or where you're heading next, what's your big exciting thing right now?
Blimey. I think to understand enjoyment and excitement, to get excited about it, you have to kind of reflect on what you've experienced. And I think that we've talked about growth a lot in this. Well, of course, it's quantum growth is the name of the podcast. And of course, we're going to talk about growth and our challenges and how we've grown and how we want to continue to grow. But of course, because of extrinsic circumstances in 2020, our industry, there was no growth. Here. It was cut off at its knees. Training and events, you just couldn't run. So that was a huge period of reflection for me personally and us as an organisation. And of course, we did have to move with the times, but we had some knowledge in how things could be done differently. But I think the key thing is that period of time was a moment of time of reflection and of kind of like reassessment, and literally changed my view on so many things. And the view, and really what helped me through that was, again, back to everything I've been talking about so far, is the people around you. You realise who you trust as friends. You realise who supports you. You realise the key team members who work with you and the key clients who stick with you. And now we're coming out of that period. It's taken a while in the event and training industry for that to happen, believe me. It's given me that confidence, not only in myself as a person. I mean, I've always been a positive, confident and enthusiastic person, right? It's what people kind of like will go, oh, yeah, recognisable. It's a badge I wear, I guess. But having gone through that experience is back to giving me the belief that with the team and the people around me, personally and professionally, that you can strive forward collectively and pretty much handle anything. And that's nice, continuing that period of slow growth after we've been through a very sharp period of shock and horror, to be honest. It's that's exciting to get back on the train.
Yeah, well, great. I really appreciate this conversation, Steve. And it sounds like you're in exciting times right now, and I appreciate you sharing so many insights there around your growth and your journey. Where can people find out more about you online?
So people can find out more about us as an organisation at our website, which is www.motiv8international.com. Feel free to link in with me, Steve Lang, Lang, Motiv8 will find me as well. Motiv8 has its own Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, all the usual stuff. People probably won't find it too difficult to find us, hopefully.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I'll make sure I put the links in the description as well on the channel. So yeah, again, thanks so much for this conversation, and I'll be watching your growth and the growth of Motiv8 with great interest. Yeah,
I think, thanks, James. I've really enjoyed it. It's done a couple of podcasts before, but this is the first one that's live with video. So yeah, be kind in your edit.